I began my career as a paid firefighter in South Carolina after getting into some trouble, being done with college. I was basically on my own. It's time to get to work. Playtime was over, so I began in a city of Seneca, which was a phenomenal department, great start. I was there from basically 2008 to 2011. And 2011, I had an opportunity to move down to a busier department, and that's where I've been since then. So I guess going on 11 years now. Me and Megan had mutual friends. She grew up one city beside mine, worked at a restaurant where a lot of females I went to school with also worked and became friends. So we knew each other before. We had mutual friends and kind of crossed paths before we started dating. Both were at a Halloween party from a mutual friend of ours, and we started communicating back and forth. I was in South Carolina, she was finishing up school here.
We met through some friends. I worked at a restaurant in high school and in college, and some of the girls that he went to high school with that he was pretty good friends with worked there too. So the girls and I hit it off and we became really close. And then they would like bring their boyfriends around, and like we'd see each other on like birthdays and stuff, like Halloween parties. And so that's where I met Nick. And he actually lived in Seneca, South Carolina at the time, and was a volunteer firefighter and going through the schooling there to become certified. And once he got finished with all of that, he was putting out resumes everywhere. And Atlanta, or South Fulton, that's where he got a job. So he moved back to here, and then we were engaged within like 4 months of him moving back. But we would see each other like every weekend while he lived there. He was the life of the party. He was loud and made everybody laugh. He was kind of like a class clown, I would say. All of his friends in school, which he's known his entire life, which is amazing because you don't really see that a whole lot, that you're still that close to friends with people that you went to like elementary and middle school with. I know I don't have the same friends, but he does. And so they can tell me stories about just how Nick was, and everyone says the same thing. Like, he's just Nick. He's just funny and, just likes to have a good time. And
so prior to the job, and I guess the first, part of my career, the job, you couldn't get me out of any social situation. I would close down whatever place we were at, wherever we went, whatever party it was, be the loudest, the funniest, the wildest, That was some flaws that I had from all growing up, but it was who I was at the time. And from that person of couldn't get you out of a crowd turned into, leaving grocery carts and grocery stores and walking out. And, I still don't like going to grocery shopping, but it's more just having to deal with crowded, inconsiderate people. But it was initially crowds gave me anxiety. I didn't know how to turn off the constant state of readiness that I've unknowingly put my body in. It was in autopilot. One of the first things you realize is that once your sleeping habits are done and you're basically running off naps and, getting off work. It's one thing when you didn't have a wife and kids and you could work all night and come home and, go to sleep for 2 days if you wanted to, get all the sleep you wanted, go back to work. It's another thing when you get off work and go into another job, regardless of how much sleep you had, working that job at full-time hours and going to school, raising little kids, you know, figuring out this marriage thing. It's a whole different animal at that point. I don't worry about much anymore as far as the things I used to worry about, but that is one of my biggest worries, is the effects of this job on my wife and my kids, especially my kids. I'm big on thinking breaking bad habits that are passed down generation to generation, and raising kids in a stressful environment is a habit that I'm will be breaking.
I was angry because I didn't sign up for this. I mean, he was a fireman the whole time, like when we dated, but I don't think you really understand what you're getting yourself into as a spouse, especially with kids, and if you don't work in the same field. Like, I have no idea what he really does. And I mean, he saves lives every single day. And, you know, I work for a law firm. Like, that's totally different, you know? And so I get angry. I was getting really angry because our lives were just so different than what I thought it was gonna be. Our lives are different than all of our friends, all of our family. You know, like, he has that every third day schedule, whether it's on Thanksgiving, Christmas, it doesn't matter. Like, he's gotta be there.
I was quick to chalk up the things that she was experiencing, the way she was coping with the problems I was bringing home. I was quick to chalk that up to where, well, that's just, you know, that's just who my wife is. And I couldn't, you know, I still couldn't accept the fact that this is not who this person was. This isn't who this person was when we met. And I hold some of the responsibility. I hold the majority of the responsibility of what our problems were, as far as how I saw her. And I was slow to understand the importance of her going through the same things I was going through, recognizing her sacrifice, really acknowledging the hardships that she has, especially when the kids are involved and she's on her own to deal with that in some of the most stressful times that, you know, that there are for families. And all I could think of is, how can you come to me about some traffic or being late with the kids when there's real stress out there? There's real things to be worried about. I wronged her by criticizing her stress because I wasn't catching myself comparing it to my stress. My first, I guess, traumatic experience that I got to be a part of was the first time I had an open cranial injury where the CSF fluid happened to get on me while I was holding C-spine. And I kept smelling sweet tea, and later found out that it was that guy's CSF fluid. And it was funny because I couldn't drink sweet tea for a little while. So that was the first memory that I'll never forget. And in the 11 years, I've got more than I can count. If you can fathom it, I've probably experienced it. I went from recreationally indulging in alcohol and high-risk decisions, whatever it is, bad decisions and drinking up till that point. Even a little bit every day is a lot once you add it up. And I was at, once I went to like liquor every day because it was more efficient and drinking a bunch of beer, that was kind of the point where it was time to make a change.
For a while, he would have to drink very heavily. It's something, the anxiety of being around people was a problem. He would get angry easily, like little things would set him off. He couldn't go to the grocery store. It was just, he became kind of like a hermit unless he was drinking. And when I say drinking, like, it started with like, beer, and then he would drink liquor. And you know how people react differently to liquor. Some people are super fun, some people are emotional. Nick was mean. It just, bottom line, like, it just didn't work well with him. He would say things, he would just get, I remember one time he got so angry, like he threw something, he shattered the oven glass in the oven at our other house. He threw something at it and it shattered like all over the kitchen. And so it was scary, because you don't know, why are you acting like this? Like, just quit drinking, like, clearly that's a problem. But it's like he needed something because he wasn't able to unwind. He wasn't able to be the old Nick.
It went well with my anxiety and my stress. It does go well and it works, but you can't be drunk 24/7. But I tried. Part of my problems in this job were, like I said, turning off that state of readiness, being able to stay focused without the brain running rampant. That's what I struggle with to this day, which is not really struggle, it's more of I just accepted it. My mind's gonna wander. We go sit down, I'm gonna be running scenarios of what could happen, whether I want to or not. So it's just a part of it.
There were times where I just kept thinking, like, Lord, why am I in this situation? And how do I maneuver? How do I get out of this? What do I do? How do I help him? I don't know what to do. I don't know what he's feeling. I don't know what he sees. I can't get him to talk to me. He doesn't feel comfortable talking about it. The things he sees are horrible. When he does talk about it, I'm not prepared to really even hear it, honestly. He's able to open up about his days, which is huge because it helps me understand what it's like for him. And I still don't have like a clear understanding of everything, but I understand more now than I did even 6 months ago. Being able to open up and talk about this stuff, it helps me, I guess, keep it in the back of my mind every morning when he does come home, like, well, this was what happened the shift before. More likely than not, something similar has happened. So if he needs to come home and lay on the couch, I'm gonna let him do that. I'm not gonna push him to go stay in the deck. Do you know what I'm saying? But before, because he didn't feel comfortable opening up about it, because he wasn't really sure what it was, I guess, we weren't on the same page. And you can't be on the same page. There's no way if you don't talk about what's going on, you know? I'm over here living my life 9 to 5 with my job and my kids and whatever, and he's out here like dealing with murders and rapes and like horrific things that you see on TV only. So of course his view of the world is completely different than mine. I'm like in a bubble compared to him. We've been married for 5 years, and it has been the rockiest marriage. Like, we talked about divorce more times than not, separating, just because we weren't getting along. And we didn't want to we didn't want to do that in front of our kids. Would it be better? I didn't understand what he needed. There's not a book that's out there that's like, this is how you be a spouse to someone in public service. Like, yes, they're going to need to sleep. Like, I would get angry because he didn't load the dishwasher. Do you know what I mean? And the little things like that would set him off because he's looking at big picture over here. And so, anyway, we, during those conversations where we would talk about separating or getting a divorce, it would come out bit by bit that, well, I'm acting like this because of, this and that. And we went to so many therapists. I can't even, I've lost count. We tried different ones, marriage counseling. We tried to do individual counseling, like something. And the one that they referred us to through his EAP program, she told Nick, after a few sessions, y'all just need to get divorced. I was like, no. We're coming here for help on how to figure this out. You were referred by the fire department as a program. And you're telling him that we just need to get divorced. That's not why we're here. I'm here to learn tools on how to navigate this, because it's unlike my family's relationships with their spouses. I don't know how to do this. And that's what you're telling him. It was awful.
I decided to seek help on my own as far as finding my own therapist to go talk to, instead of using the system that my municipality had in place that provided me with the closest therapist on their list of approved therapists. After the third attempt to use that program, I was well aware of its inability to help me. And so in doing that, along with my wife, I found a man by the name of John Carpenter who worked an hour from my house. And I drove an hour to see this guy. And after my first visit, I could tell he was gonna work for me at that time. And it turned into continuous sessions where I felt comfortable speaking on things that I just didn't speak about with anybody else because it's a stranger, and it felt good to honestly speak how I felt on not only the cause but life and the realization of life.
I went to the psychologist with Nick, and I actually had one-on-one sessions with her, and we talked about all of it. I wouldn't say she's diagnosed me with it, but I do have symptoms of those things. I do get depressed in certain situations where things just aren't going right, and I just can't, for the life of me, understand why, like, and what to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get down, like, where it's multiple days of dealing with someone else's depression and anxiety, you start thinking, it's me. Like, I've done something. And it's not 9 times out of 10, you know? It's not, it's something else that's happened. So yeah, I would say I definitely get low, have low points. Find someone who has been in public safety, who is also a medical professional, a psychologist, and go and see them, even if it's on your own. Like, if they don't want to go, if your spouse doesn't want to go, you go anyway, and you find them on your own. Don't assume that the person on the back of your insurance card is the person that's going to help you. Go find your own person, because it'll change your life. Once you start understanding more of what they're going through and having someone else tell you so that you think they're just not crazy, like someone else is telling you, like they're reinforcing, no, back up. Like, he can't do that because he can't think like about the dishwasher and whatever, because he's thinking about something else. Remind yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, having someone else help you along and finding it on your own for now, I would say it needs to happen. Everyone should do it.
But I didn't give her that recognition, and that was a big mistake. And I'm lucky that she's still here to help me after disregarding her impact, or the impact on her from my job and what I was bringing home.
He's such a good person, y'all. He is like, I have my own personal hero in my house. And, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. Like, he's amazing. And I want my kids, sorry, but I want my kids to like be in that house. I want them to see that, yeah, we struggled and he has a hard job, but we're gonna do everything we can to make it. I wanna stay together. Like, I didn't marry him to give up on him, you know? I wanted to figure it out, and I wanna figure it out with him. I want to do this together, you know? So I'm so proud of him for doing this, honestly. Like, I think it's been such a good, like, relief for him to be able to talk about it. And, like, even to help one other person that is feeling this way is huge. So I'm so proud of him. And he's getting, like, every day, it's like, he's getting back to that old Nick, you know, the person that I fell in love with like a long time ago. Like, I don't know, he's awesome. He is.
We get training every year. You know, we've had it stuffed down our throats every single year of what to recognize, what to do, what 1-800 number to call, and there's no confusion on how to handle that. If there is, there's a protocol for it, I'm sure. But the people at home don't have a protocol. They don't have the options. Even if it is minimal options, they don't have that.
Even just having like a phone number where you could connect to someone that's been in your situation, just as simple as that. A book, like, I'm not saying it's got like a tell-all, like they know exactly what to do, but just something that prepares someone for the next morning, like when they come in from shift, you know? And of course there's like blogs out there and stuff that you can find on your own, but I feel like you shouldn't really have to like search for that. Like it should be given to you. Even if it's like a class or something, like, okay, you are now like hired as a fireman. First thing we're gonna do is bring your family in here and we're gonna sit down for 4 hours and we're gonna go over things that's going to happen. And here are some helpful tools. And you know what I'm saying? Like, they give them the packet to fill out their life insurance or whatever and pick out all their benefits and stuff, but like they make them do that at the station. You know what I mean? Like, all right, fill it out and give it back. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's just, they could do a much better job of making it more of like a community, something to bring us together, something that could teach us what to expect, what to look for, you know, like signs, symptoms of like your spouse needs help. Like I want bullet points of things to look for, you know, and who to contact when you find those things, like in your area, not who they've got now. I want something, not what's on the back of your insurance card. I want something better than that. And I don't want to call like a hotline every time. Like I want like a person to go and sit down with and talk to and figure it out.